Facebook is introducing new features in the wake of damning testimony suggesting it knew its platforms are harmful to kids and teens. Among the changes, prompts to get teens to take breaks from the app and nudges if they are repeatedly looking at content that isn't conducive to their well-being. There'll also be new controls for adults, allowing parents to better monitor how their teens use Instagram if they so choose. Critics of these new features are already questioning how effective they'll be. Joining me now to discuss all of this controversy swirling around Facebook right now is clinical psychologist and attorney Dr. Lisa Stroman. Thank you so much for being here tonight, offering your insight.
Absolutely.
So it's not news, right, that social media can negatively impact people's self-esteem and body issues, especially young women, preteens, teens. But Facebook's own research is pretty damning here. It shows that 17% of girls say their eating disorders got worse after using Instagram. 13.5% of teens said that their suicidal thoughts became more frequent. Facebook could have reversed course, right, but chose not to, according to this whistleblower.
Yeah, this is simply something that we've been seeing a lot. Like we really have been looking at this for decades now. And what Facebook is showing is they're a corporation that's out to make profits. And it doesn't matter how many times we catch them in what they're doing. Mr. Zuckerberg himself in 2013 came out and stated that he was doing internal tests and controlling and manipulating the moods of its users. And I remember when that came out and thinking that if we have an industry that's willing and able to basically research us as its consumers and manipulate us, we really need to look at whether or not we need an outside person to regulate what they're doing and how far they take that manipulation of the user.
Yeah, and this is unique, right? Because powerful Democrats and Republicans finally came together on something to rebuke these practices, especially the algorithms that target the young girls. Facebook, of course, has responded saying people who use Facebook feel more connected to their peers and they feel better about their well-being. Is that true? Is there any way to know or measure?
Well, to me, this is an issue of semantics. I think Facebook is coming in and it's talking about whether or not we feel more connected, which is very different than our mental health. So if I look at the research from JAMA Pediatrics, it was just published October 5th, over 80,000, 29 different studies, 80,000 students were looked at, children were looked at. We have anxiety, we have depression, we have self-harm. So the science is really showing us that it's out of control. And I think why we have lawmakers coming together now is that if we can come at this apolitically and we can look at it and say, okay, how do we manage somebody who has control, because that's what we have here. They have control over the narrative. And so big tech right now has more control over our society than actually our lawmakers. And so I think that they've been fearful to come forward until they got this data dump of thousands of documents where it was actually proving that Facebook themselves know exactly what they're doing and how they're manipulating and allowing people to get hurt. And we cannot allow us to stand by anymore and let humans be expendable.
And that whistleblower actually testifying that Mark Zuckerberg used to put his hand in the air and say, company over country. She said another quote here. She said, quote, "I'm here today because I believe that Facebook's products harm children, stoke division, and weaken our democracy." So when we talk about the political divide, rather, she's actually saying that it makes these algorithms to divide people.
What we need to know and understand a little bit is that the algorithms are AI push, right? Like it's not humans that are making these determinations anymore. And so basically humans will put in, if you have X number of responses or this much attention towards this hashtag, we want you to spend more ad dollars. We want you to push this narrative into people's phones. That's why we get notifications and that's why we get information coming to us. What I think Zuckerberg and anybody else in tech has been doing, they've been hiding behind that Section 230, which has given them the ability to say, you know, it's not us. We actually haven't had any control over it. We're just a publisher. But what we now see is that algorithm is manipulating and controlling the narrative. And therefore that should be removed and we have to have oversight at this time. And it's so important now that more than any other time in our history, because we actually now know that Facebook was probably instrumental in the insurrection on Capitol Hill. They have been instrumental in having countries that have been just torn apart because they're making dollars over decisions for human people in our world.
And the whistleblower is saying that Facebook actually broke the law because they knew in advance about the Capitol siege on January 6th, and also when it comes to hate speech. Do you think there's any legal footing here?
I definitely do. I think that you would have to look at this in any other way was this person basically contributing towards a crime in the situation? And if they were actually building in algorithms that stated the more divisiveness that has occurred and the more that we can control whatever side of the political party and manage to send angry or hateful text to people to create more energy around it, I think right now we have a serious argument to come in and at least hold them accountable for that situation, but definitely more situations, I believe, are going to come to light.
All right, Dr. Lisa Stroman, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Appreciate your insight.
Thank you, Ruba.